Hello, my name is Pete, and I actually just sold my second Vibe Coded business of the year. I figured I'd make a video about it, like any good YouTube influencer. No, for real though. I did some dumb things throughout the course of this project, and I wanted to share both some technical and some business takeaways or lessons learned that can apply to you in your projects, whatever you're doing. Before I dive into the specific lessons, let's talk about facts and stacks. So I did work on this project for about 2 months, or maybe even a little less, but it was around for 18 months total, which was a terrible decision. I'll explain what I mean by that in just a moment. You'll see why was I so stupid? I don't know. It grossed probably like 120K. Expenses were extremely small. It was very cheap to up and run and operate. And it sold for 5 figures, not 6 figures, 5 figures. And we'll get to why that is in just a moment. Overall, I'm still really happy with it. It was a great project, a fantastic learning experiment. If I could go back in time, however, I would do things quite differently. And that's what this video is. All right, stacks. Let's talk about my Vibe Code stack. Actually, this was my Vibe Code stack. It's different now. Cursor was like it was the thing in January, February, March 2024. But I actually used more chat bots like ChatGPT to go back and forth with the code base and building it and figuring all that stuff out. It's built with SvelteKit and Svelte 4, which is the older version of Svelte. Tailwind CSS as a CSS framework, DayZUI for some components in there, Firebase for the database, and Auth, Firestore DB, and Auth, logging in, logging out, that sort of stuff. This is like the stack, right? The indie dev stack. SvelteKit, Firebase, made popular by a few different YouTubers, namely Fireship.io and so forth. And I use this for basically everything because it's fast and it's easy and it can do a bunch of different things, I think, really well. Stripe for payments. Cool. I use Stripe Checkout specifically. Resend for transactional emails, aka one-off emails. Cloudflare Workers. I'll get to maybe why I did this in a while, but I offloaded the core logic of the app, which I'll discuss what it did in a second. But the main heavy lifting logic do things for users was actually in a Cloudflare worker, actually 6 of them. And they're free. They're fast. They're pretty easy to use and implement, I think. Maybe a little bit of a learning curve if you've never done them before, but these edge functions are everywhere now, but I like Cloudflare workers. Scraping Bee is a third-party scraping tool, scrapingbee.com. And theirs was just the easiest API to implement. So if you need to scrape websites or scrape Google SERP, search engine results page, Google News, and other stuff like that, I recommend using the third-party scrapers, and I really like Scraping Bee. It was just simple. It was just easy to use. I didn't have to think much about it. Very easy to work with. And I use AI in the app, so I used both OpenAI and Anthropic models. Then there you go. That's the stack. So let's dive into the lessons. Number 1, the build phase. How did I come up with this idea? January 2024, I spent over $1,000 to hire an agency to perform a service for me. And 6 weeks later, I got back a spreadsheet. That was it. And they're like the only people that do it. So they actually did a good job. I'm not even throwing them under the bus, but I couldn't help feeling, couldn't I do 80% of this in 1 minute with AI? And I did. That's exactly what I built. It was called Topical Map AI. And it's basically structured content ideas for SEOs and content creators, bloggers, article writers, content marketers, that sort of stuff, right? In the SEO world. I come from a blogging background. So 2 things. Number 1, scratch your own itch. I paid a lot of money. I waited 6 weeks. I got a spreadsheet. That's my own itch. That's a pain point. I still think this is a phenomenal strategy for coming up with ideas, for both business ideas or really specific product ideas or even features within whatever you're working on. Scratch your own itch. It's still the best. Part of the reason is it gives you a connection to your audience right away. You don't have to think about copywriting. You can just say how you felt and then say how you feel now that you coded a solution, right? It's going to connect you to a market. And even if the business fails, your product fails or whatever, hopefully, fingers crossed, you still have a market of one. meaning yourself, right? You build something that you could use. So keep a running list of your own itches, if you will. Even when you're not looking for new ideas, it's good to like keep a running list to like cultivate your mind into thinking about them. And that's how I came up with Topical Map AI. Second thing, number 2, can't ChatGPT do this? This is a question is totally viable. And it's actually what I ask whenever I'm looking at an AI powered app. Any app that is using OpenAI or Anthropic or Gemini or whatever, the AI APIs, I'm asking, can't ChatGPT just do this? And there's some things that ChatGPT does well, don't get me wrong, but it requires prompting, prompt engineering, figuring out how to mold the AI, customizing, as in providing your details about your business, your product, your brand, your life, whatever that is, and then organizing the outputs, formatting and views, UI, UX, that sort of thing. I think the good AI tools, this is what I tried to do with Topical Map AI, and this is why it worked, I think. It did the prompts, it did the customization, or it helped with it, right? It helped my users customize AI without doing it on a line-by-line basis, and it organized the outputs into a more readable format, a format they could download, they could export, they could copy and paste, whatever, right? It was just AI prompts, but with those 3 things like on top of it. So users didn't have to do as much of that, right? Can't ChatGPT do this? Yeah, of course it can. It can do everything that Topical Map AI did, for sure, but you have to spend more time doing prompting, customizing, and organizing. And so that's what my app tried to build on top of, if that makes any sense. So, scratch your own itch. Number 2, the growth phase, getting users. So, well, first of all, I soft launched to my email list, PeteMcPherson.com. Shout out. You can go join my newsletter. I don't do a whole lot of launching or selling anything, but I did this. And mistake number 1 was offering up a lifetime deal for like $39. It made a couple of grand. I'm very happy about that. I should have been doing subscriptions right from the get-go. I should have. I missed out on money this way. But I didn't. Whatever. It showed interest, and I wanted to get rid of it. I knew I didn't want to do this long term, and so I tried to sell it for, I was asking like $15K. For like, somebody buy this starter app or whatever. And I also tried posting about it on Reddit and launching the product hunt twice and all the other, like, you know, the guru marketing Vibe Code Saas company launch stuff. I got nothing. I mean, like, literally nothing. I tried too. I put effort in. Very little interest. What worked for me was partners. So I got really lucky here. Big shout out to my partner. I tried to sell it, and I found somebody who said, I'll buy it for $15,000, or we'll come on as 50-50 partners and we'll do the marketing. We'll promote the app, which was a win-win for me. Ended up being a great decision, by the way. So I did. Now, here's a lesson learned, however, from my partners. Again, I don't hold anything against them. They did a great job. They did what they said they would do for the most part. This is on me. They did 2 things. Number 1, they said the app's not good enough. They didn't actually say it in those words, but they like suggested features and changes and found bugs and all that stuff, which was worth its weight in gold, right? It made the app way better. Having other people use it, but not only other people who have a vested interest in your success. Quite literally, they had equity, right? That was absolute gold. It made the app a lot better. It really did. However, they also kind of made me change the branding. And I mean, straight up, like colors, logos, the copywriting, what was where, the UI as well, and some other stuff. It kind of brought everything towards the middle of the road rather than the edges. I wasn't like perfect when it was just me doing the branding and my personality and my style and my image and all that stuff. It wasn't perfect, but it was definitely me. And what they did was designed by committee, so to speak. They made it look like a software company. It wasn't as interesting. It wasn't as intriguing. And I thought maybe this will be better for buyers. I don't think so. Spoiler alert. We'll get to how long it took to sell in a couple of minutes. I don't think it helped me. I think it hurt me. I sold another company that was very on brand, quote unquote. It was very me. It was bold. It was in your face. It was silly. It was goofy. It was kind of over the top. It was weird. It was literally called Fab. It sold like that, right? And I think part of the reason is this is different. This is interesting. This is intriguing. It grabbed attention from a potential buyer that much more. And again, I don't blame my partners for this. I didn't actually push back as much as I should have. I kind of felt it coming. I wasn't really thrilled with the way it looked, the way it felt, which is a big deal. Marketing design is a big deal for getting people to pay you money. And we softened it around the edges where we should have been like going the other direction. We should have lived on that edge, right? Okay, next up, scale or lack thereof. So I took on some partners. I spent a good like month and a half doing extra features. That was like the bulk of the work. The first Vibe Code, by the way, was like a week and a half, maybe. But I spent a lot of time, summer 2024, making it better. And then they promoted it in August. And we got customers. Like a good deal. It went from like, well, $0 a month, period, because we didn't have any subscriptions, to like 5K to 7K to 10K a month. And it looked like it was going to go to 15, 20, 25K a month. That's what our plan was, of course. I did a ton of customer support, as you might imagine. This was like my first huge push of onboarding new customers, which I failed at. We'll get to that in a moment. And then after that, we did nothing. I got lazy and I got bored, and this cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably. My takeaway here in this build phase, this scale phase of any company, any business, is that you can't like let it ride. Unless you like really engineer your project to be set it and forget it, chances are it's not going to be, especially if it's paid. If it's a paid SaaS product, subscription-based or like whatever, you can't just let it ride. There's going to be normal churn and burn. And man, I didn't do any new features. My partners didn't promote it. That's a complicated story, but they didn't promote it anymore. They didn't do any marketing. No marketing was done from September 2024 to today. No marketing, no emails, no YouTube videos, no social stuff. Really, there's like some automated stuff that went out to 0 people, but like there's just no marketing. No work was being done. And it cost me. This is like, this is the revenue graph that AI produced for me, by the way, because I don't have access to Stripe anymore because I sold the business. But it looks like this. We launched, boom, huge. What we should have done was waited another month or two, done some tweaks, figured out some errors, bugs, onboarding stuff, launched again. And then maybe done like a new feature push and then launched again like 2 months later, 3 months later. We didn't do anything. Literally nothing. Obviously, that's a mistake. It sounds obvious, but it didn't actually feel that obvious. It felt like, well, we're still making some money. We're still getting a few organic new customers. No. It's just not the way it's supposed to work, right? And spoiler alert, when you go to sell an app, period, they're going to look at this graph. This is the number one thing a potential buyer looks at first, period. They might not even see your business name before they see this graph. And what they're looking at is like a huge drop off. They're going to ask questions. And sure enough, I listed it for sale after 12 months, because that's what everybody told me I should do. I'll come back to that in a second. And I had a bunch of interested people right off the bat. I mean, like literally week 1, lots of interest. Week 2, week 3, week 4, every single buyer asked, explain the growth chart, explain this decline in revenue, explain this churn. What happened? Why is this happening? And it was just a massive uphill battle. And I listed it for what would have been a fair price if this revenue graph were flat. Like the multiple, I don't remember the multiple, but it was very fair. It was very affordable. But it's not a flat graph, right? We got a huge surge of customers, and then we literally didn't touch the app again for a year, 10 months, right? Until we sold it. Or until I sold it. I bought my partner's share back. We'll get to that in a minute. But alas, this is obviously bad. Don't do this. You can't let it decline, right? It will decline. If you're going to sell an app, you can't do that. Here's what I would have done differently. I would have sold right here. I would have taken a discount, by the way. You can't get the same like multiple right here. No one's going to like see this and be like, hey, you've only had customers for like 2 or 3 months. I don't care. I still would have sold. I think I would have gotten more money if I had sold there, even with a steep discount on whatever multiple I was asking, rather than doing this. Obviously, it would be better if it continued to grow or if it stabilized or whatever, but it didn't, right? And I wish I had sold it after a month or 2 right here. Even at a discounted price, I wish I had. So let's talk about the sale a little bit more. March 2025, I listed it for sale. Again, the multiple is fair if you just looked at the numbers, like the annualized. ARR and MRR and stuff, but that didn't tell the whole story, right? This tells the story. And so sure enough, people didn't buy. And I had to get the price back down and talk with lots of people who were just like, I don't think this is worth that. I think this is worth like this amount and this amount. I just don't think, how do I know this isn't going to drop off to zero? People were asking that, right? Even if it was a great idea, even if there was lots of potential to do marketing, they didn't care. They just looked at this graph above all else. And then I sold it. So a few things for the selling phase specifically here. Build to sell. There's a book out there called Built to Sell. I haven't read it, but I hear it's pretty good. And basically, the point of this book that I haven't read is that even if you don't plan on selling a business or you don't know at all, it's still good to build the thing as if you were going to sell it, because that's just like the normal best practices to running a business. And there's some hidden benefits too. We'll get to the actual tangible stuff you could do, but another good benefit of building a business to sell is to emotionally detach yourself from it. You are not your business. Having your identity as a creator, builder, entrepreneur, whatever, wrapped up in a business is bad news, right? It makes it harder to make good decisions, to be really frank. So a healthy business is one that is apart from you. It's separate from you, not only literally, but also like emotionally. So literally make SOPs. This is going to make a transition so much easier. I have not done this for any of the businesses I've listed for sale, and I wish I did. And I wish I had straight up showed that to potential buyers, even before they bought, right? It would be nice to show them, here's all the documentation, I have all my ducks in a row, that sort of stuff. Financials, same thing. I kept okay financial statements, income statements, but it was like not fancy. Not that it needs to be fancy, but it was just like stuff that no one would look at besides myself, right? And I wish I had done that a little bit more structured, a little bit more detail, so you can show to potential buyers, I'm on top of my game. If they think you're on top of their game, they're going to think the business is worth it that much more. Testimonials. I never actually bothered to get testimonials. I had like a few. This is really important. And that every broker, like Acquire.com or Empire Flippers or Flippa or any of these places, they're going to tell you, get good testimonials. Keep a document, right? A Google Doc, whatever. And I only had a couple. I wish I had more. It speaks a lot about your app and your business if you can hand a buyer a bunch of existing testimonials for social proof, so they don't have to go fish it out, right? Really tactical tip. Use separate accounts for stuff. Sign up for a new Gmail account. And if you have a branded domain name account too, like hey@topicalmap.ai or whatever, that's great. That's fine. Use that. But I wish I had kept all of my stack in separate accounts, like Recent, Cloudflare Workers, Scraping Beat, OpenAI, and Anthropic APIs. I wish I had had a separate login. So come time to transition to a buyer, you can literally just hand them that email address and say, here you go. It's all you. Log in with this here. Email, password, email, password, email, password, email, password. And you don't have to transition as much. Obviously, you're going to have to do like a new Stripe account. Separate Stripe account is a must, right? Don't have those Stripe products along with a different business's products. That one's pretty easy. Firebase is actually fairly easy to transition. But other than that, like try to keep separate accounts for everything. Here's some more random lessons. Random. Onboard more. I talked about this a little bit, maybe. Man, I really screwed up on onboarding. Our churn was higher than it needed to be. And part of that was because I didn't teach people how to use my app good enough, right? Like I have to pretend every customer is dumb, because when they come to my app, they are dumb. Even if they're smarter than I am on like IQ basis, they don't know my app. They don't know it as well as I. I like to think, oh, they're going to know where to click. They're going to know where to go for this. They're going to know how to log into Stripe billing portal. They're going to know how to do this. They don't know. They don't know because I haven't told them and I haven't shown them. So onboarding is just insanely important. And I did very little, right? I just did like one welcome email and a landing page that kind of pointed people to the docs, the documentation. Hey, here you go. You're off to the races. Go have fun. I should have spent like 2 or 3 days, come up with a few different emails, made a few different Loom videos, and walked people through how to use the app. I should have. Number 2, vibe test. Vibe coding is great. Vibe testing is better. I still think this is a massive area of opportunity for Cursor, Windsurf, Claude Code, any of these like agentic coding IDEs or whatever. Vibe testing is equally important as vibe coding. And I didn't do a whole lot of that. I tested like myself, I used the app, but I didn't really use AI the way I should have when it comes to, hey, see if you can refactor this code. See if you can discover any potential bugs before my users do, right? Getting AI to test your code is possible, and I didn't do a whole lot of that. I didn't really think about it. I should have. Really small one. If you're using AI, Anthropic or Google or OpenAI or whatever, I think all of them at this point have some form of structured outputs, structured responses, whatever that is. As in, getting like a full-on JSON response back, and you created a schema of here's exactly how to respond format-wise. I don't do anything but that now. I didn't do that when I created this app. And so I spent a lot of time creating like helper functions in my code to try and format these responses the way I needed to be. And then the AI would hallucinate every now and then or kick back some bugs or errors or whatever. Structured outputs. Use them always. If you are incorporating these AI APIs, I start with that. You can always detach from it if you need to, but start with structured outputs for sure. And then stick with your stack. This was, I tried a lot of different frameworks, coding, programming languages over the years or whatnot. When I created this app, I had this from the get-go. I was like, I don't want to do anything new. I know SvelteKit and Firebase and like this Tailwind CSS stack, right? I know this. Just stick with it. And I did not even bother to go learn other stuff. Even Cloudflare Workers was like, I've done this before. I don't want to look at Vercel edge functions. I don't know. I don't care. I just want to use what I know. Even if it's like a little bit messy, a little bit not optimal, it's what I know. And so I can push things out faster. I can ship product. Ship now, shipping. I can ship product faster with my stack, and I've learned it, I'm sticking with it, and I have no plans to change. And neither should you. Even if it's different than mine. That's cool. So that's it. If you want to see what I'm doing now, I do build everything in public these days. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel. That would mean a lot, actually. It's not just for my ego, although it helps, or the YouTube algorithms, although it helps. But yeah, subscribe to this YouTube channel if you enjoyed these videos. Again, PeteMcPherson.com. You can get my weekly-ish newsletter. I don't sell a whole lot. It's mostly cool stuff I found on the internet. And you can follow me on X. Do you have a blog? Is where you can find me there. If you have any questions or comments or potential videos you want me to do, more than happy to. I'll share anything I can. So drop me comments on the YouTube comments below this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.